That may have been race of the season, and it was the race I have been talking about for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. The race NASCAR needed came at Kansas Speedway on Saturday night. Uh, the new 2019 package, which has been severely debated among drivers, team owners, fans, you name it, has been highly debated. A lot of different opinions going on around it, and for the first time, possibly in 2019, it worked the way it was supposed to at Kansas. We saw close racing, crazy restarts, 3 and 4 wide restarts, 3 wide racing after the restarts. We saw lead changes. We saw strategy, some tire wear, but not enough to where it would have made the racing more spread out. And that, in my opinion, is why that was the best race with the new package this season. It may not have been the best race, in my opinion, overall this season, but it was the best race with the new package so far this season. And it might be the best race we see with the new package this season. And I'll explain why in a little bit. But so start of the race, Kevin Harvick started the pole. We had some inspection issues. Stewart Haas Racing was supposed to start 1, 2, 3, 4. End up with 2 of them going to the back, Suarez and Almirola, along with Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Logano, and some others. All had to go to the back for inspection issues. On the green flag, it was shown that it was not going to take long for those drivers to move through the field. And about 2 laps, Logano was inside the top 20 after starting about 31st. So that was pretty amazing to see that happen. And we saw some 3 and 4 wide starts and restarts and whatnot. We saw a few cautions early on. In fact, I think there were like 3 cautions in the first stage. One for competition. And I think Denny Hamlin also spun around in the first stage. Set up some pit strategy and whatnot. And one of the big things that was established early on was Kevin Harvick was going to be a force to be reckoned with throughout the race. He had a fast car. On the times when there were cautions during the competition yellow for some rain that happened earlier in the day and overnight, Harvick took 4 tires while Lott took 2 tires, and Harvick restarted 10th but quickly got back to the race lead. On the caution when Hamlin spun, he came down pit road, restarted 10th, and quickly got up to the front of the field. So Harvick had the car to beat for sure Saturday night, and he proved it throughout the race. He won stage number 1. Throughout stage number 2, the race went more green. We had some green flag pit stops, and it ended up with Harvick ended up going into pit stops first. He left first. However, Chase Elliott quickly got around Kevin Harvick, and Elliott assumed the lead, and he won stage number 2 and set himself up for a nice position in stage number 3, which kicked off, and we had some good racing throughout stage number 3, and we had the final pit stops of the night, or so we thought. Don't really make any mistakes and whatnot. Alex Bowman was actually leading at this point with Kyle Busch in second, about 4 seconds back. So pit stops are cycling through. The front 7 have yet to come down pit road. Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chase Elliott, and some others. In the middle of those pit stops, when those 7 drivers had not come down the pit road, the yellow comes out for a loose wheel getting into the grass. Ryan Newman's tire got away from the pit crew, got into the grass, brought out the caution flag for some debris. Obviously, a very dangerous situation if a car were to go sliding through the grass and hit that tire. That could have been a disaster. So NASCAR's forced to throw the yellow, and it shook the whole race up, as now only 7 cars were on the lead lap. Brad Keselowski and Eric Jones, that's going to be a big talking point about that. They were actually trapped a lap down when that yellow came out. So they had just gotten onto pit road, and Brad Keselowski and Eric Jones did their service but fell a lap down, and I think Keselowski was the first car lap down, but since he was now lap down when the yellow came out, he did not get the lucky dog. That went to Kyle Larson, and the field was kind of all jumbled up. After the wave rounds, 13 cars were on the lead lap. On the ensuing restart, cars were all over the place. I think Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman were first and second after Kyle Busch, who got the lead off pit stops, drove through too many pit boxes, and had to go to the rear of the field. So Kyle Busch's top 10 streak was in jeopardy right there, starting at the tail of the field, and no one near him. He's in 13th, no one is near him. We got some things going on throughout. Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman are first and second, kind of riding around with each other. Another yellow flag comes out. Kyle Busch is back in it, along with Kevin Harvick in the middle of, I think it was stage number 3, stage number 3, Harvick had some debris on the nose of that car, and he also felt like he had a loose wheel, came down the pit lane, surrendered the lead, fell lap down. He never really did recover after that, and it's up for a long stage number 3 for the driver of the 4 car, Kevin Harvick. So he ended up getting the free pass because of that yellow. Some mixed strategy on that yellow brought some cars pit road. Some drivers stayed out. On the restart, Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott were side by side for a full lap. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. does a slingshot 3-wide pass to get around, and then Alex Bowman ends up getting around to get to the race lead, looking for his first ever NASCAR Cup Series victory. And now a hard-charging Brad Keselowski and Erik Jones behind him. And with about 7 to go, I think it was, Keselowski got a huge run off turn 2 and then ended up making the pass on the outside of Alex Bowman in turns 3 and 4. And he'd set sail to get away. Erik Jones got to second. They got away. Looks like Keselowski is going to win the race handily. However, with about 4 laps to go, yellow flag comes out. Matt DiBenedetto blew up on the racetrack, brings out the yellow flag, and sets up for NASCAR overtime. Most of the front runners stay out on the racetrack. Also, during that, Kyle Busch got a tire rub in a 4-wide match on a restart. Ended up bringing him to pit road. He fell 3 laps down, never could recover, and that top 10 streak ends tied with Morgan Shepherd at 11. So we're going to have to wait another year to see if someone can beat that record, which would be 12 top 10s to start the season. No one's been able to do that so far because Kyle Busch with his issues here on Saturday night. So NASCAR overtime, everyone's thinking, it's going to be an exciting restart. However, Brad Keselowski takes off, and no one's really near him. No one was able to keep up with Keselowski on the restart. Brad drives away and wins the race handily over Alex Bowman, who gets his 3rd straight second-place finish. Talladega, Dover, and Kansas, all second-place finishes for Bowman the Showman. That win might be coming soon, though, because it looks like Hendrick Motorsports has found something just a little bit overall. But as for the race as a whole, it was a good race. We saw what NASCAR, I think, intended with this rules package, which was passing and different strategies and stuff like that. We saw, I think, about 23 lead changes during the race. A lot of those, though, I will say, came under green flag pit stops. However, we still did see a lot of, passing and whatnot throughout the field. But even though I thought the race was good, there's a difference between thinking the race was good and not liking the package. I don't like the package they're using. However, the race was good at Kansas. I will say that. I mean, there's a difference between liking the race and liking the package. I like the race. I still don't like the package they're using for it. You're not going to get me to like the package they're using, and this is probably going to be the best race that will happen with the package because it was under the lights, so it was cooler, and the track is recently repaved, I guess you say 2012. The tires don't really wear that much there. They wear, but they don't wear too much to where it can make a bad race. And I think that's what this package shines under, is where stuff is cooler, where, the tires don't wear as much. So Kansas, definitely going to be a hint point. Charlotte might be pretty good with this package, maybe Michigan as well. But really, Chicagoland probably won't be too great. Maybe Kentucky will be good, but I think the package hurts more tracks than it helps, really. Or doesn't not really hurts, but it just doesn't really improve many of the racing we see. So I while it works at some, tracks, it doesn't work at every track, and I think that's to be expected. There's not going to be a package that will make every single race and every single track be really great. But this package really doesn't thrive under Dover. It's not going to thrive under Loudon, Martinsville, at Richmond, stuff like that, where they're kind of going slower. It doesn't really thrive under that, which I'm kind of scared about Darlington as well, because they're going to be kind of going slower there. But we saw moments throughout the race, and that was what I've been saying. NASCAR needed a race which was going to be competitive and crazy. They got that here tonight finally, and it proved to be a good race. But it's Hendrick Motorsports and Chevy back. 3 of the top 6 finishers were Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets. Alex Bowman once again got 2nd. Chase Elliott got 4th, and Jimmie Johnson got 6th. Inside the top 10, Chevys included Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott, Jimmie Johnson, Kurt Busch, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, and Chris Buescher. 7 of the top 10 finishers were Chevrolet drivers. We had the Ford up there of Brad Keselowski, along with Clint Boyer. They ended up inside the top 5. Keselowski won. Boyer ended up getting 5th, and Erik Jones, the lone Toyota. Toyota really had a bad day. Kyle Busch was never really a threat throughout the race. He had some glimmers of where he was fast, but he wasn't really ever in contention. Erik Jones was the best Toyota throughout the night, and Martin Truex Jr. had a very uncharacteristic race here at Kansas. He really struggled, and Denny Hamlin, he has issues early on. So Joe Gibbs Racing didn't really show much pace here tonight. Penske Racing even didn't really show much pace. Brad Keselowski, I think, really got into a position where he kind of not really fluked his way into it, but he kind of just lucked his way into it with some cautions and the right strategy working out. But Chevrolet had 7 of the top 10 finishers. They had some really fast race cars, especially Hendrick Motorsports. I feel like all 4 Hendrick cars were fast. Byron had some unfortunate circumstances, but I feel like he was definitely a top 15 car throughout most of the race. So the big question is Hendrick Motorsports and Chevy back? My answer to that is no, not quite yet. They're not at the way they were back before 2015. They're maybe back where they were in 2016, 2015, when they were competitive top 10 basis, where they had at least 2 cars inside the top 10 every week. So I think they're making gains. Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, they are making gains. We've seen this over the past few races. They're making good gains. The package has obviously helped them catch up a little bit, but I think we will definitely see Hendrick and Chevy just battle for more wins throughout the course of the season. We got the All-Star race coming up, Charlotte, so we'll see how that goes, and maybe they'll be able to pick up some more wins and fight for the championship. You never know. Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman right now are actually on the best the best streak of any driver in the Cup Series so far. They have 3 straight top 5 finishes. No one has that except for Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman, so they're doing good. And Jimmie Johnson came from nowhere throughout this race. He was running back around like 20th most of this race, and when that yellow came out with the whole the whole green flag pit stops and whatnot, he was scored 12th, and he got back on the lead lap. And then when that yellow came out in the middle of like Bowman and Chase Elliott battling, Jimmy came and got tires and drove his way up to 4th, and it was actually inside the top 5 on the last lap until Clint Boyer nipped him at the start-finish line. So Jimmie Johnson stuck with it. So if I was Jamie Spencer, I'd give a cigar award to that 48 team, because they did a great job just persevering and battling back and making something out of nothing throughout the night. They really had not a great race car, but they persevered and they got a top 10 out of it and a good points there. They're back up into the chase at the moment. They're in 16th. They have the final spot right now inside the playoffs. But one final thing I also want to talk about is the fact of the winners. Brad Keselowski won again. All but one race this season has been won by either Gibbs or Penske. We've seen Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Martin Truex Jr. win for Joe Gibbs, and Logano and Keselowski win for Penske. Chase Elliott, the lone winner, not from Penske or Gibbs this season, won at Talladega for Hendrick Motorsports. They've won a lot this season, and so far only 6 winners through 12 races this season, a lot like it was last year. Last year we had 6 winners through 12 races. The big difference is Kevin Harvick is not as dominant as he was last year. No one's really as dominant as Harvick was last year. Maybe you could say Kyle Busch has been pretty dominant, but Logano has been able to keep up just a little bit with Kyle Busch. Overall, we had 6 winners last year. I think it was like Kevin Harvick had 5 wins last year at this point in the season. Kyle Busch had 3, and I think the other ones had 1 apiece. The other 4 winners had 1 apiece. They made up 6 winners. This year so far, we've had Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski both win 3 races apiece. 2 race wins have gone to Martin Truex Jr., and 2 to Denny Hamlin, and 1 to obviously Logano, Chase Elliott. So in my opinion, I mean, maybe it's a little bit better, but we still have seen the same winners through 12 races this season. It hasn't really been much of an improvement in terms of race winners. However, that's going to happen in sports. Obviously, teams are going to figure out the package, but it looks like Hendrick Motorsports will have something for those 2 teams, and maybe even Chip Ganassi Racing and Stewart Haas Racing. Stewart Haas Racing has yet to win this season. Hendrick Motorsports, once again, three of their cars inside the top 6. I felt like all Stewart Haas Racing cars were pretty fast here tonight, and even Roush Racing brought their stuff with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He was up inside the top 5 most of the race and ended up falling back to 11th because he pitted on the final caution, but he did good. And also, tip of the cap to Chris Buescher. He ran top 10 most of this race. He ended up finishing 10th, so great job by Chris Buescher. He went up there, he led 10 laps because of some pit strategy, but he did a great job throughout the race. He was up inside the top 10 most of the night, so tip of the cap to Chris Buescher. They've had a pretty good season so far. The 37 team has had some pretty good races, under the radar races as well. But overall, I think that's it for Kansas. Once again, I feel like that's going to be the best race with this package we're going to see this year. Maybe Charlotte might be able to try and contend with that, the 600. We'll just have to see how it goes. But overall, once again, race was good. I'm still not a fan of the package, but the race was good, and we'll see what it goes. With the All-Star race, we're going to be trying out some things that they think they're going to be doing for 2021, the Gen 7 car. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the All-Star race with the new additions that they have. And we'll have to see how the All-Star race goes. We'll see how the All-Star Open goes. We'll see who makes it into the All-Star race and what happens with that. So I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys for the next video.